Well, Holly, before we get in the program, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
This week's Joke of the Week is my neighbor just buried $1 million in his garden because he wanted to make his soil richer.
Seems like that would be counterintuitive. I know I'm thinking too deep in it.
Yeah, it's a joke.
It's a joke. Yeah. Don't do that.
Okay, so anyway, this week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pest insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com. So,
does it really work? We've seen these consistently on a daily, even hourly basis on some of our social media platforms that we have or admin it. And we're going to go over several of these. Let's start with one that probably some of you have already participated in, which is I'm going to put some tums underneath the tomato plant in order to prevent blossom end rot because that's a lack of calcium.
Right. So, this is obviously a myth because we're talking about it, or it doesn't work, but it does work.
All of these don't work, okay? So,
well, it does work, but you have to have a bunch.
We had our first guest of the year back in March, Robert Polovis, was on the program, and he enlightened us. He's the gardenmyth.com guy. And yes, the tums does work. However, in order to get the proper amount of calcium in the soil for your tomato plant to uptake correctly, you need 80 tums. The uptake of calcium is not necessarily the exact result of blossom end rot, the blackening of the tomato underneath as it ripens. The problem is inconsistent water, and we've said it time and time again. You can add all the calcium in the world to your soil, but if you don't consistent or regularly water and keep that soil damp to allow the calcium that you have already in your soil to be transferred from the soil into the plant due to that moisture being in the soil, allowing that transfer to take place, you're going to have the problem over and over and over again. So yes, tums do work. You need 80 of them per plant, but the much cheaper alternative is just to simply water consistently. And if you really are concerned, there are certain areas where calcium deficiency is a real thing and not a made-up, I saw it on the internet, so I got to do it in my garden. You get a soil test from soilsavvy.com. They'll give you 16 points of analyzation to tell you what you have and what you don't have and how to get what you need in order to have a healthy garden.
Right, and I was just reading today about a few things when I was looking at some of these garden myths, and a lot of these macronutrients like calcium, potassium, magnesium, etc. Most soil is not lacking it.
No,
it's usually something they're lacking, like nitrogen, phosphorus,
the big
potassium.
three. Yeah, in some instances. So
this is why it's good to have this education on these garden myths because you might not even be lacking this nutrient macro. Macro? No, yeah. It would be micro.
Macro and micronutrients.
Right. Yeah. So you wouldn't be necessarily even lacking it, but because, the internet exists or your neighbor from back in 1982 told you this, now you believe it. But again, you're simply just kind of watering the plants, and that's what makes a difference.
Another one is Epsom salt prevents blossom end rot. Explain that one. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. Blossom end rot is a lack of available calcium.
Right. So there's no science here, and this has been stated by a lot of people to add the Epsom salt. And so similar to the tums, where you put the tums into around the plant or wherever it may be, then you water. Well, the same thing with the Epsom salt. A lot of people are like, go out there, sprinkle some Epsom salt water in, and it's typically recommended for blossom end rot. And so then your blossom end rot goes away because you watered your plants. This happens because a lot of times we will, in many areas, you'll plant like the appropriate time here where our station is. It's like Memorial Day weekend. So then, you always get like rain, usually the first week of June or whatever, and then come mid to end of June, early July, it doesn't rain as much. Maybe you're not watering properly, you're not thinking about it, locks up the nutrients in the soil, doesn't allow the plant to access those, you water because you add this Epsom salt, and voila, your problem is solved. It's because of the watering.
Another one is homemade weed killer. Now, this is where you take Epsom salt and you take dish soap and you take vinegar and you make this concoction and you spray it on your weeds, and it magically kills the weeds. The vinegar and the salt, the salt and the vinegar and the mixture of the soap attaches itself to the foliage and it kills it. This does not work simply because there are vinegar-based weed killers on the market. Nat Green Products has a wonderful natural vinegar proprietary-based weed killer. The difference between your vinegar and vinegar that is designed to weed kill is the percentage. Typical over-the-counter vinegar is 3 to 5%. Now it's 5, and now some of them are, it's 3% now because of whatever the case is. Weed killer on the market is anywhere from 20 to 45% vinegar. It burns the plant. Now, it's not a glyphosate where it goes directly to the roots and eliminates the plant in like 48 hours. This is a more safer way of dealing with weeds. There is several applications in which have to be taken in order to eradicate the weeds in which you're trying to kill in some instances. Some weeds are weak enough and that 20 to 45% vinegar will kill it right away. But making your own concoction at home with your home vinegar and soap and salt, it does not work.
Right. That's exactly true. So let's talk about banana water.
Banana water.
This was a new one for me. So banana water. Here.
Everybody's got bananas and they're shoving it in water and they're saying, "Oh, I water my garden."
It's not bananas. It's
the banana peel.
Right.
Put it in water and you let it steep for I don't know how many, whatever. Pick a number and that's how long you're supposed to let it steep for. And then you water your houseplants and you water your vegetables. And my goodness, PBS and the home and garden show is right there, video in your garden because it's so wonderful.
Is that what happens?
Apparently.
Oh, okay. So this is another myth or another misconception.
It's a lie.
I mean, yeah, banana peels can release some magnesium and potassium into your water, but your plants are not, your soil is not lacking it.
Well, but the amount of the bananas you would have to have in order to get the proper amount of potassium is you don't have enough money to buy those bananas.
Right. Yeah, that's just it. I mean, is it going to hurt your plants? No, it's not going to hurt.
But do you have better things to do than to shove some banana peels in water and let it steep for X amount of time?
Maybe it's a fun little project for you and your children.
But it's a waste of time. Put the banana peels in the compost pile.
Right.
In the story.
I agree. I just can't imagine the smell. It can't smell good.
Well, some of them I've seen puts them in like an old peanut butter jar and then tightens the lid on it so it steeps better. I don't know.
Still.
And putting in your compost pile eggshells.
Eggshells. So this is a really.
Well, put eggshells underneath the tomato plant. I mean, I understand some of you do these things because you are not aware that it doesn't work because it has been passed down or you've seen what you felt was a trusted source online or your favorite YouTuber going, "Hey, buy my shirt. Here's how you grow tomatoes." Or buy my sponsor. Here's how you grow. There's some of them out there that will do that. What do I need to tell you about the gardening world in order for you to buy my merchandise and to subscribe so I get more AdSense? We're not one of those people. We don't have 1 million people on YouTube. We don't have 100,000 people on YouTube. Because maybe part of it, the reason why we tell the truth.
Right. I think that could be part of it. So eggshells, here's the theory, is that you take your eggshells, you let them dry a little bit, and then you crunch them up in your hand, and you toss them. A lot of times it usually involves tomato plants. You toss them around the tomato plants, and it's supposed to fix all of your problems.
But I pulverize them into a powder and then put them at the bottom of the hole.
You could do that too, but you need a bunch of eggshells.
And it takes, yes, the smaller the particle, the quicker the egg mechanics of the egg will break down. However, the level of calcium that's in an eggshell is minute to what a plant would be required to have to supplement what may be missing out of your soil. In addition, the eggshell and the nutrients involved in that eggshell can take 12 to 18 months to actually break down to it's turned into soil and the nutrient has been released and now is in the soil for a plant to uptake.
Right.
Put in the compost.
Put in the compost.
And if you've done these things, I understand. We're just trying to advise you not to do them next time, so you have more time.
We did Epsom salt for a long time.
Yes.
For a long time.
Till we were educated.
So there's no shame in that. You know, new information comes along. It's okay.
That's why we're here, to help you have more time doing other things than doing things that don't actually work, or work to the level of what you may anticipate them doing because you've seen results online, and we can't always trust everything we see online. We can trust Walton's Incorporated, that has meat and meat products for you.
Yeah, we know that you care about canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables, but what about the meat? At waltonsinc.com, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way, to your high standards. If you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like, Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, at waltonsinc.com to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.